Luke 18:13. And the publican standing afar off would not lift up so much his eyes unto heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner.
The Apostle Paul said of Christ that he was in the form of God, but he thought it not robbery to be equal with God. He made himself of no reputation. He took upon him the form of a servant and was made in the likeness of men. Being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. The way Christ lived and the way Christ died was also the way that Christ prayed. The prayer maker prays humbly. To accentuate that truth, the Lord gave a parable in Luke's gospel about two very different men who prayed in two very different ways. The first one lifted himself up in the temple, lifted his eyes up to heaven, pounded upon his chest, and said that he was grateful that he was not like all the sinners around him. In contrast, the lowly publican bowed himself down to the earth. He looked down and he asked God for mercy. Christ said it was that man who bowed himself before the Father who went home justified, teaching us a monumental truth. If we're going to have our prayers lifted into the heavenlies, they must first with humility be made in the dust.
To have an elevated prayer life, one must be willing to sink low in the grains of humility. The paradoxical aspect of God's kingdom reminds the petitioner to abase himself in the closet so that God will hear his prayers in heavenly places.
It's not only aptitude in praying that gets results, it's the attitude. It's not only the position that we have in the prayer closet, it's also the disposition in our heart. When we bow our heads before the Father, we are bowing our heads before the one who bowed his own head in death. When we bend our knee before the throne, we are bending our knee to the one who bended his knees before the disciples. It's humility, therefore, that gets the answers from heaven. When we plant our prayers in the soul of service and humility, God waters them with the blessings of heaven, and they are elevated before the throne.